Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints episode 357. A weekly little get-together, talk about recent gaming news. I'm as always your host, Stephen Brown, and tonight, Sony is finally going to tip its hand when it comes to PlayStation this week. AI is everywhere, and it's going to be here to stay. And, of course, sadly, we have even more layoffs in what is now become just a weekly segment, it seems, on this show. But first, before we get into any of that, I want everyone here to know this is an audience interactive podcast. So if you're watching us here live at Twitch TV/GamePoints, like many of you do, or later over at any myriad of video hosting platforms, be they Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, etc., feel free to show your support of the channel by liking, following, subbing, all that good stuff. You know what streamers want. All right, first topic out the gate. If you're watching live, you already saw a little bit of it there. Sony has a showcase coming up. Not a little state of play, not a little 20-minute segment, but a full-on hour-plus showcase that is going to reveal whatever the hell Sony has up its sleeve. Finally. I think the last time we got one of these big shows from Sony was late 2021. So it's been about 18 months or so since Sony's shown anything. I do believe part of that is because of the Blizzard-Microsoft acquisition that's going on. That seems to be heavily stymied by the UK coming in and saying no, no, no. But now is the time to start rolling out things. And like I was alluding to, I don't think Sony has that fear of Microsoft pointing out whatever they're going to show going, see, they have stuff, let us have Call of Duty. Now that fear seems to be alleviated, it's time to show off some shit. And Sony is going to be the first one to do it. What's actually coming up? Well, we're not necessarily sure. If you look at the blog post, which I have here, the link to this and all the stories we'll be talking about is provided down below, by the way, in the description over on our Discord, if you want to take a look at that as well. So, looking at their blog post, PlayStation Showcase broadcasts live next Wednesday, tomorrow as the time that's recording, May 24th at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. British Time. That does coincide when I normally be streaming games, so we will be streaming that live here as well for any reactions that are going on. The show will run a bit over an hour, focusing on PlayStation 5 and PSVR 2 games in development from top studios around the world. Expect a glimpse at several new creations from PlayStation Studios, as well as spellbinding games from our third-party partners and indie creators. Odd choice of words with spellbinding there. That seems to be alluding possibly to something, what it could be. Hell if I know. No one has any idea. But, of course, being a Sony show, a PlayStation showcase, I can talk. Rumors have hit the internet abound. Some of them outright laughable, some of them maybe a little bit of credence. I don't necessarily want to be going into detail of them here, but they include all of your typical things you see anytime Sony announces any sort of direct, ranging from the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, which seems to be all but confirmed by multiple reliable sources, extra Silent Hills, Castlevania, to your wilder things like Bloodborne or even Siphon Filter coming around. There is a rumor going around that Sony Bend might be showing off their new IP, so Siphon Filter might actually be legitimate. We'll see this time tomorrow. I am very interested in seeing what PlayStation 5 is going to show off. Marvel Spider-Man 2 has to be guaranteed to be here, probably leading off the show in my opinion. That's rumored to be coming out sometime in September or October around there, if some leaks are to be believed. They have to finally show something on that. We do have some more news about that game later today, too. What I'm more intrigued in is what the hell else are they going to be showing? Are we going to finally get what Last of Us Factions, that multiplayer Last of Us game can come out might be? Are we going to have some old franchises revised? Dare I dream that we have another Killzone or Resistance announced here? Keep your hype low, in my opinion. So that way you're pleasantly surprised rather than crushingly disappointed if it doesn't show what you think. For example, for those of you who had the PlayStation VR 2, if you're hoping for Half-Life Alyx, I'd tamper back those expectations just a little bit. It would be awesome if it comes out, don't get me wrong. But to go in thinking that something like that would be announced and just to have it dashed out from underneath you, I'd be concerned. I am super curious as to what PlayStation VR 2 is going to be shown off here, what games are going to be shown from that, because it doesn't seem to be doing too well. There were that rumors from Jason Schreier that they cut their expected allotment from 2 million units pushed to 1 million units pushed, but then Sony came out and directly refuted that. So who knows if that's true or not. It's very rare for a company to actually say, no, that's bullshit. Sony did in this case. But I don't think it is wrong to say that sales of that device are softer than Sony was hoping for. So I would be very interested in knowing what is going to be cranked out here. We're also on the verge of retailers being able to just sell PlayStation VR 2 units. As of a few days ago, you could only get it directly from Sony. They're just now starting to open up the spigot to let it show up in stores like GameSpot and Target, etc. Walmart, Amazon, I think might even have them now too. Still for that $5.99 price though, that is quite a hunk of change. I think it's $5.99. It's expensive either way. So I am somewhat surprised to see them coming out and still having, well, PlayStation VR 2 games. I guess when you spend that much time researching and developing a system, you have to have something for it. But I'm still very iffy on whether or not it's going to last more than a year. It kind of has dead tech written all over it, unfortunately, and which is a shame because the PlayStation VR 1 unit was awesome. I actually liked it quite a bit. Not enough to buy 2 when it first came out, though, especially knowing that I have to rebuy so many of those games. Yet another issue with that system. Let me know what you guys are hoping to expect come tomorrow. We'll be streaming it live here around 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, by the way, so you can come on by here and watch it with me. Let me know if it meets your expectations. I'd imagine a lot of you are seeing this after the show has already happened, so feel free to let me know what your favorite part of it was. All right, moving on to the next topic here. This one, a lot of people are going to get salty over it because this is a bit of a derisive topic, but hey, it's here and it's not going away. Article here from the New York Times, archived, because the New York Times likes to put up a paywall, and fuck paywalls. But I will have both the archive link and the original story posted down below if you want to take a look at it yourself. AI may help design your favorite video game character. We're going to specifically focus on Blizzard with this one. I'm going to go ahead and say this up front. I know that AI is a contentious issue amongst the creative crowd. There are claims of plagiarism and how it never quite gets things right. If you look at some of these AI-generated images, if you focus on like their hands specifically, it can look really fucked up. The cold, hard truth of the matter is AI is here to stay. It is not going anywhere. Fighting AI being used this way is reminiscent of when the record labels tried to shut down Napster in the 90s. The more you fight it, the longer you will be left on the sidelines. It is better to just embrace that the technology is here, love it or hate it, and I have many issues with AI myself, to be clear, but it is here. It is not going away. This is going to be the future of games, and I fucking hate it, but we need to start wrapping our head around that now if you want a chance to survive in this industry. AI is here. You just kind of have to deal with it. I'm sorry. To the article itself. Intrigued by the potential that generative artificial intelligence holds for video game design, the studio Blizzard Entertainment has trained an image generator of its own hit titles. By feeding assets of combative orcs of World of Warcraft, the macabre dungeons of Diablo, and the vivacious heroes of Overwatch into the machine, Blizzard can effortlessly produce concept art for new ideas. This is where I start immediately taking issue with it, however, because yes, AI is creating new concept art, new ideas, but what it is just generating a random hodgepodge from the images it already has. Thus the plagiarism concerns before. It just looks at something someone else already did and adapts it into its kind of own willed mesh of things, hopefully to get ideas to make a game around. Okay. I don't know how you're going to lead to a game to it, but this is just the first steps of it. This is just the first generation of AI. It is going to get better from here. So let's keep that in mind. Blizzard's chief design officer, Alan Adam, told employees about the initiative last month in an email that was obtained by the New York Times. Its internal tool is called Blizzard Diffusion, a riff on Stable Diffusion, one of the popular image generators that enables anyone to turn text into art. If you don't know what Stable Diffusion is, you can essentially type in like a baby feeding Alan Alda from MASH, the desiccated body of Ripley from Aliens, and it will draw that. I don't know why that was the first thing I thought of. Just roll with it. Prepare to be amazed, Adham wrote, adding that we are on the brink of a major evolution in how we build and manage our games. Like I said, this is coming. And it's coming for two reasons. One, it's going to be cheap. Sorry, why have 20 storyboard artists when I can have an AI create the scene for me? It is going to be replacing jobs. However, that does not mean that there won't be also making new jobs as well. Much like when the car and the automobile, the same thing. When the automobile came around in the turn of the century, back in the turn of the 20th century rather, people were looking at going, well, what about all the carriage industry and the horses and the buggy whips? Well, yeah, those got faded away. They got replaced by new jobs. Something to consider looking into if you want to be on the forefront of this. Because like I said, love it or hate it, AI is here. Which brings me to the second point that I want to bring up. The money issue. Recently, a lot of companies have been doing their quarterly reports. And there's been one thing a lot of the specific tech companies have been saying that's been making their portfolios jump up. AI. Even the mention of AI is causing their stock to rise. So of course, everyone is going to jump on this because it is not just a fad, but it is something that the people who hold the purse strings are actively pursuing, and it will start feeding into itself. And no company, big or small, wants to be left behind on that. You're going to see the number of uses of the words AI skyrocket in press releases because they want investors to buy the stock. Doesn't matter if it's good, doesn't matter if it's bad. Wall Street's spoken. AI is the fad, and they're all going to be chasing it. And like I said, it's here to stay too. So everyone's looking at this as like the next beginning of the .com boom. Now, there was the .com bust, but the comparison so far, I believe, is apt. Do not try to fight it. You can maybe carve out a niche market, by the way. There are the equivalent of gaming hipsters who will only play games 100% AI free. But it's kind of like owning a pocket watch store. Yeah, you might have some people buy some things, but let's face it, no one's actively buying pocket watches anymore. That's where this is going. And like, I have no real horse in this race. I'm not trying to sell AI or bash it. I'm just saying that is the reality of the situation. Let me know what y'all think down below. I know there are a group of people who actively hate AI or don't care about AI. I see very few people who are excited about AI except for investors. So I'd be very curious to find someone who is looking forward to what AI can do beyond increasing their stock portfolio. Let me know if you're one of those people. Moving on, there was this rumor for the longest time that Spider-Man 2 might be co-op. And to be fair, it is because of some things that the voice actors of the game have said at various conventions. But Insomniac came out and straight up said that ain't the case. In response to a question on Twitter if Marvel Spider-Man 2 was going to be a co-op game, Insomniac straight up said, nope, it is an epic single-player adventure. Now, why the confusion behind this to begin with? Well, back in September at SAC Anime, one of the voice actors, the voice actor for Miles Morales, a fellow by the name of Naji Jeter, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that, essentially said the following. I don't know if it's been announced or not, but I think so when asked if the game was going to be co-op. Not the first actor to be leaking things about it. Tony Todd came out and said that the game is going to be coming in September to tie it back to the earlier mention of the show. And this led a whole bunch of speculation on whether or not Spider-Man 2 is going to be co-op or not, because there also seems to be maybe some Spider-Verse T shit. Marvel's really big on the alternate dimension thing right now with Kang the Conqueror being the main bad guy of whatever their current phase 20 or whatever they're on right now is. It makes sense for people to think it could be a co-op game, because if you have like thousands of Spider-Man running around New York City, sure, someone can play Peter Parker and someone else can play Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man, the film Noir Spider-Man, I think, or Spider-Ham, or insert your Spider-Verse character here. So it being co-op was within the realm of possibility. Also, you had Sony going on and on and on about how all their upcoming games, maybe not all, but many of their upcoming games are going to be a live service of some kind. And live service and co-op tend to go hand in hand. So the rumors started spreading, speculation ran wild. I am glad to see Insomniac actually come in and say, nope, single player adventure. Now, let's not just trust a corporation blindly. It could be a single player adventure with some multiplayer elements added to it. I am inclined to believe that is a 100% single player game, but don't be surprised if that shit somehow sneaks its way into things. That's the nature of the beast. Moving on to the next topic here. I found this kind of interesting, actually. This is via Gamatsu. Once again, link provided down below in the description or of our Discord page. Dead by Daylight games in development. New Dead by Daylight games in development at Supermassive Games. Midwinter Entertainment also being a subsidiary of Behavior, the people who make Dead by Daylight. Going on to the article itself. Behavior Interactive has announced new projects of a Dead by Daylight universe in development at Supermassive Games and its own subsidiary, Midwinter Entertainment. These projects will expand the Dead by Daylight mythology beyond the core game, offering players more ways to experience the world. Supermassive itself is developing a new single-player interactive story game that will offer, quote, an intense narrative experience filled with powerful life or death choices set within the backdrop of the Dead by Daylight, end quote, with more information coming later this year. For those of you who don't know, Supermassive, those are the people who make the Dark Pixels games. They also made, more recently, The Quarry, as well as Until Dawn, which is, in my opinion, still the best thing they've done. This is cool. Dead by Daylight, I remember when that game first came out as an asymmetrical horror game. One killer hunts 4 survivors and they're trying to get out. A couple other games I tried doing it. The one that comes to my head off the top is Friday the 13th. I thought this game was going to be dead in the water. I was like, okay, cute. I don't see too many people playing it. I was just dead wrong. They're going on their 8th year now. They have multiple major horror characters licensed for the game now, as well as many original ones of their own. They have fleshed out the storyline, such as it is, and I'm glad to see them teaming up with someone like Supermassive, who does decent direct-to-video style horror narrative. That you're not going to get anything award-winning, but you go to a video store on a Friday night and pick up some random horror movie on the shelf, back when video stores were actually a thing, and have yourself a good time. That's what Supermassive does, and that's what Dead by Daylight seems to cater to, is that kind of horror. The typical slasher, I'm going to be super gruesome and murder everyone kind of scenario. I'd be very interested to see what they can do up, because there is something somewhat intriguing about the universe of Dead by Daylight. I only know a little bit of it, but it deals with some dark presence that's forever tormenting the survivors over and over and over again. So if they escape, they wake back up the next day in the same place. They're trapped in like this weird purgatory, from what I understand. I could be dead ass wrong about that, but it's an interesting premise, and I'd be very curious to see it told in Supermassive's anthology style telling, because I think that universe sets them up perfectly for their style of games. So I'm looking forward to seeing more about that soon. Moving hard to a different topic here, for those of you who felt the $70 price tag might have been onerous and they're going to pay for charging that price, who's going to pay that much? Well, the CEO of one of the biggest video game publishers out there does not see any real difference on that. This year via Video Game Chronicle. Take-Two says it's not seeing pushback from players on $70 game pricing. The Grand Theft Auto publisher was the first company to introduce a new price point. I didn't know that, actually. I did not know that. During the company's earnings call on Wednesday, one analyst said there were some recent examples of unnamed Take-Two competitors offering discounts on some AAA days within days and weeks of their release. Over the 2 years since the $70 price point was adopted, some publishers for the current gen games are players still struggling to come to terms with it somewhat, they asked. So the investors saying, hey, we noticed that some of your competitors do deep discounts on games not even weeks old. Does that have to do with the $70 price point? As an aside, that was a thing before even when the games were $70. When they were $60 or $50, it was not uncommon to see games that aren't burning off the shelves drop down 10, 20, 30% within a month. So that the person who asked that, the investor who asked that, strikes me as someone who does not really pay attention to how game sales actually work. This is not a $70 price point issue. This has always been an issue with AAA games. In fact, if you can hold off on buying it for the first 6 weeks or so, you can usually find it for at least 10, if not 15 bucks off. Anyways, back on task here. CEO Strauss Zelnick said the following. We're not seeing a pushback on the frontline price. What we're seeing is consumers are seeking to limit their spending by going either to stuff they really, really care about, blockbusters, or to value, and sometimes it can be a bit of both. The good news is we have a bunch of blockbusters and we have a wonderful catalog. So what he's saying is that the $70 price tag isn't affecting sales if people actually want that game. There is no one sitting there going, oh man, I want to play Tears of the Kingdom, but that extra $10 is a little too much. That ain't happening. What is happening is that someone goes, man, do I get Tears of the Kingdom or Advance Wars, using the Switch as an example. Do I get Tears of the Kingdom or do I get Advance Wars Boot Camp? I'll get Tears of the Kingdom. The price isn't the factor as much as just you have limited funds. So it's causing you to make cuts. And if that means you just buy the more expensive game rather than the more expensive game and a mid-range game, you're going to go with the one that you want the most. That seems to be what he's saying here. Now, some people can be saying, well, they have less cash because it's a $70 game. Yeah, that's true. But it's not the idea of a game being $70 that's making people turn their nose up at it. It's just that they don't have the money to do it anymore. And that's affecting everything right now. This is not just a video game issue. Inflation has racked everyone at all levels. And it is having a very negative impact on sales. And seems to be what is driving sales to go down lower year over year as opposed to the $70 price point. At least that is Zelnick's theory, if I am interpreting him correctly, and I am inclined to believe that. Strauss Zelnick's one of the more brilliant CEOs out there when it comes to video games. That does not necessarily mean a positive or negative connotation, but he is a genius when it comes to running a company. That's just the long and the short of it. So, for some of you out there who might be saying there's no way they're going to keep running games at $70, the opposite is actually true. In fact, this might spur some companies to go, well, we're not seeing any pushback on 70. Let's jump it up to 80 next year. And what they'll do is they'll do something like not make a standard edition. It will be the limited edition only. $80 for this game, but you also get like the first year of content for free. $90, $100 for Witcher 4. But you're going to get it comes with the 2 expansions as well. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but that is, I think, what you're going to start seeing is shit like that. Forced value added on top of a game, where you might not necessarily want the digital deluxe skins because it's only 3 customizables and maybe 500 fake monies, whatever you use of the cryptocurrency store that they have on there. But they're going to force them in there anyways, charge an extra $10 and not have a standard edition. I get a distinct feeling we're going to start seeing that within the next 6 months or so. Mark my words on it. But that could be wrong. So yeah, that seems to be how that's going as far as the $70 game point is. The consumer was fine with it. You might not be, but remember, you are not the vast majority of people out here. The people who turn into these kind of shows sometimes have a bit of difficulty seeing the forest for the trees. They're a little too close to see the grand picture of things. When you're the mom or dad who goes to the Walmart to buy Grand Theft Auto 6 for their kid, I know, but that's what happens. They're not going to go, oh, wow, these were $60 for 5 years. Now they're 70. They're going to go, $70? Well, everything else has fucking gone up, whatever. And just buy it. Moving on, we did have one huge game announced, and for once it's not like an actual rumor leak. It's been confirmed at this point. Mortal Kombat 1 is coming, as shown here by Ed Boon himself, one of the creators of the franchise that's been around for, 25 years at this point. It does seem to be a reboot, and while a reboot, still having connections to the previous stories, that seems to be Fire God Liu Kang there, which I think he ascended at the end of the last game, and he's kind of rebooting the timeline from the very beginning. Needed to happen. Sometimes the story gets a little too unwieldy, and it needs to get the action trimmed back down to its basics. See the comic book industry with their various crises throughout, specifically DC in that case. The trailer which is shown here. I'm not going to show it on here. It seems to start off kind of slow at first. I was surprised by it. It felt like it was keeping itself grounded, not being as indulgent with the violence as Mortal Kombat is known for. And then you get to the last third of it and you start seeing fatalities, and dear God, is it over the top. Mortal Kombat has always been over the top with its fatalities. It's kind of one of the big selling points to it. But Jesus Christ. If you're a fan of that stuff, knock yourself out. I like Mortal Kombat. I'm not bashing that, by the way. But I was kind of shocked by how it starts, how it started off. And I think it's the dichotomy of it that really caught me off guard. The seeing Raiden and Kung Lao, or who's the hat guy? I don't remember his name. Like, just on a farm chilling. And it seems nice. And then it slowly ramps up, and then you're seeing people getting ripped in half and eaten and all the various Mortal Kombat goodness on there. There are some rumors floating around this game, however. Colin Moretti of Sacred Symbols, it's a PlayStation podcast that is on Patreon. By the way, full disclosure, I do pay $5 to that Patreon. He said he heard rumors of Jean-Claude Van Damme and then 2 others being in Mortal Kombat. Now, he wasn't saying who they were, but now that the Jean-Claude Van Damme character has been officially confirmed to be a skin for Johnny Cage, he has since come out and said that he was told, may or may not be true, but that he was told that there are also going to be skins for Travis Scott and Megan Fox. Who they could be, I have no idea. Maybe Jax and Melina. Although Travis Scott would really look weird as Melina, but here we are. It could be them, or it could just be bullshit. There's also many other rumors. I'm less inclined to believe these. That Homelander from The Boys is going to be in it. Omni-Man from Invincible. Peacemaker from the DC show of the same name. All in here. I would take those last 2 with a grain of salt. However, I think it would be fucking awesome to have Homelander in Mortal Kombat 1. God damn, that would be so cool. Omni-Man and Peacemaker, not so much, but more power to them. And it wouldn't be out of character, considering that Mortal Kombat has had guest fighters in it for years now. So, makes sense. There will be the official revealing of gameplay at Keighley Summer Game Fest, which is going to be June 8th, a couple weeks from now. We'll get more into that as we get closer to that date. A couple more announcements as we keep on going on through here. Total War PHARAOH was announced. Now, not really a big game, but I am a strategy game whore. I love playing them. XCOM, Total War, your smaller stuff like Showgunners, which was fantastic. I just finished that a couple days ago. So, of course, I have my ear to the ground on this stuff. Total Warfare coming out sometime in October. Don't know exactly when, but I'd imagine early October. We don't know too much about it either, other than there's going to be 8 factions in it of groups of people that I've only heard of in vague historical context. 4 sets of Egyptians, 2 sets of the Canaanites, and 2 of the Hittites. I know fuck all about this time period, so it's going to be fascinating to see if I can't glean any actual information, some historical context, and rip it away from what the bullshit the game sells. That, by the way, is one of the ways I start getting interested in various parts of historical time periods. I see it in a game and I go, I want to learn more about this and start digging into it. I love that aspect of these historical tactical games. That it intrigues and it starts tickling like the knowledge centers in my back of my head, and I have to start reading more about what actually happened to give me more additional context as to the fighting going on. So, if you're a Total War fan, Total War PHARAOH out in a couple months, it seems. Speaking of war, Warhammer Skulls is coming next week. Actually, not next week, this week. This is an older article. Now, Warhammer 40K, Age of Sigmar, all that good stuff from Games Workshop, does their own version of a direct. They call it Skulls when it comes to video games. That will be dropping this Thursday, May 25th at 9 p.m. or 5 p.m. UK time, 9 p.m. Pacific time. And it's going to be hosted by Rahul Kohli. Once again, forgive me if I mispronounced your name. The reason why he's voicing it is because he is the voice of the main character of Bolt Gun, which is the boomer shooter that just came out as of airing this about a few hours ago or so. Excellent so far, by the way. I'll be streaming more of that tomorrow after the Sony showcase. So he has a connection to one of the new games coming out. This year, they are going to be showing off behind-the-scenes looks for some of the biggest and best Warhammer titles around. Top billing. Here we go. Sorry, I lost my place. Top billing goes to Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun, which came out today. Space Marine 2, which looks fantastic. Total War Warhammer 3, which has been out for a while, but they still do content updates. Warhammer 40k Dark Tide, unfortunately, a bit of a train wreck right now. I'm kind of hoping it goes away and they just do a Dark Tide 2.0. They really need to pull that game and give us something worth a damn. And 40k Rogue Trader. That one I'm super intrigued by. Rogue Trader is going to be a CRPG, a classic RPG made by the people who made the Pathfinder games, Owlcat. I am really looking forward to seeing what they can do in the Warhammer 40k universe. We'll see. They also say that there's some exciting news coming from Frontier Developments and plenty more beside. Now, they don't say what Frontier Developments is working on, but important to note that they are the people who published 40k Chaos Gate Demon Hunters and are rumored to be developing an Age of Sigmar RTS. So I would imagine what we would see is maybe an update to Demon Hunters and then finally the official reveal of whatever this Age of Sigmar game is. That, of course, like I said, going to be coming out Thursday the 25th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will likely be talking about it on that stream later in the day. All right. Now we move into that terrible segment of the show where once again I have to drone off some layoffs that are happening in the industry. What more can I say that I haven't said what feels like the past 6 months at this point? The economy is going to shit. Prepare your resumes. It is better to be ready to be laid off at a moment's notice rather than to have it arrive suddenly at your doorstep. Even if you think your job is secure, be ready for it. And we have 3 companies that we need to talk about this week. First up, this one kind of hurts. Relic Games. Relic Games is going to get cut by 121 employees. Relic Games, for those who don't know, released Company of Heroes 3 recently. They're known for working on Homeworld, 1 and 2 way back when. Relic has been around forever. Dawn of War, they did, to go back to the 40k stuff. They've been around for a while. To see them lose employees is rough because it means Company of Heroes probably didn't do nearly as well as they needed to. And that's a shame because I absolutely adore this company. Also getting hit with layoffs is Deck 9. This tweet here is from Lisbeth Ballou talking about how many of the brilliant, kind, talented coworkers at Deck 9 were laid off. For those of you who don't know who Deck 9 is, they're the company that picked up the Life is Strange series after Don't Nod moved on to bigger and better things. They're also working with Telltale Games on The Expanse, which should be coming out soon-ish, based on the TV series with Kara G redoing her character as Karina Drummer. And you've seen the trailer for it likely out there. The number of employees let off from this one seems to be around 30, though hard to get raw numbers. And then finally, and I actually know people at this company, Brace Yourself Games hit with layoffs as well. What we see here is someone who used to work for them saying that she and about 50% of the workforce are being cut from the company. We don't know exactly how many people 50% of Bracer Games amounts to, but it seems to be anywhere between 20 to 40 people getting laid off. Of course, with everyone affected in here, and with everyone affected in all prior weeks, I hope you land on your feet, and I hope you're able to find a job soon. Layoffs suck, but the cold hard reality is the economy is going to get real bad, and it's going to continue to get bad. I wish I can finally say, hey, I think this might be the last time we do this segment. I don't think that's going to happen. In fact, I expect many of the bigger places to have a second, third, fourth, even fifth round of layoffs. So please do what you can to save up a little bit of a nest egg. Do whatever, even if it's only an extra $50 here and there a week, put it into savings. Don't touch it. Maybe think about not taking that vacation that you were hoping to take and just set that money aside for a little bit, because the axe is going around. And people are giving very little warning of getting laid off. And to make matters even more fucked up, the people getting laid off right now, some of them are getting severances. As economic conditions worsen, those severances are going to get smaller and smaller, and in some cases just not exist anymore. So please, I am begging you, be prepared. And with that last bit of dour news, I believe that comes to the end of the show. This has been GamePoints episode 357, and thank you all for showing up. I do stream this every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here at Twitch TV/GamePoints, and you're all more than welcome to join the conversation like many of you do. If you can't, however, you can catch us out on any myriad of video hosting platforms, Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, etc. And of course, you can join our Discord, link provided down there if you want to be part of the greater GamePoints community. I do stream games throughout the week as well. I'm going to be doing some Bolt Gun tomorrow, so come on by, take a look at that. Miasma Chronicles will be co-streaming the Sony PlayStation Showcase as well. I look forward to seeing you all then. And if you like what you see here, you can support the show in any myriad of ways. Likes, hits, follows, shares, subs, etc. You can follow myself on Twitter at CapitalistPig21. And that's it. Thank you all for showing up. And until next time, I'm out of here.